Hi, I'm Sid Dobrin. In this video, I'll be talking about the Mapping Your Situations feature. When I teach the Mapping Your Situation feature about writing to respond, I walk students through the process it illustrates. I ask students to begin mapping their situation by asking a series of questions about their purposes in writing to respond. To what am I responding? Why am I responding? What does my response need to convey? Does my response serve a larger purpose, like perhaps as part of an argument or a proposal I am making? Once they have a sense of their purposes in writing to respond, I show students why it's important to begin asking about who will be reading their responses, asking questions to determine what they know about their audiences. At the same time, students should consider in what medium and by what method they will convey their responses. The questions they ask about medium and method should be asked in conjunction with their questions about audience. I like to pair these questions because more often than not, the response to one set of questions will affect how the other questions need to be asked. Likewise, I always want to show students that when thinking about and asking about audience, medium, and method, they should also start to question the context of their responses. Where will the response occur? Where will the response appear? What limits the possibilities of response? Each of these kinds of questions should be asked in conjunction with one another, since the answers to any one of these questions will affect how students might want to ask the other questions. Next, I ask students to start thinking about who else is already participating in the situation and what the various relations are in the situation. When writing to respond, these kinds of questions about the situation are important in helping students to determine if they are responding to a particular speaker or writer already in the situation, to the situation itself, or to an aspect of the situation the other writer has indicated. This kind of questioning can help students understand other claims and responses that are already part of the situation and how their own responses then work in relation to the situation and other participants' responses. One thing I try to emphasize with students is the ways that institution and power within the situation can constrain what is valuable as accepted response and what might be disregarded as an inappropriate response. I do this by talking about the kinds of things that the college setting might deem as appropriate or inappropriate forms of response, particularly in terms of things like medium and method, official language and unofficial language. Likewise, I want students to think about the role of kairos and timing in terms of when and where they can and cannot respond. I also want students to think specifically about the networks that their responses are likely to circulate in. I ask them to consider how the constraints the situation imposes also affect the circulation of their responses. For example, still thinking about the college setting, what might happen if an inappropriate response circulates in a professional network and how the network might possibly react to that response? What could the professional ramifications be? How might the institution respond to the response? I want students to think not merely about the negative possibilities in such situations, but about what it means that a response circulates in networks. With this in mind, too, I talk with students about how a response to a situation affects the situation, changes the situation to one degree or another. Changes in the situation require that writers continually reconsider the shifts to all part of the situation and how the changing aspects of the situation might affect the responses they write. So those are a few thoughts about walking students through the Mapping Your Situation feature with an eye toward teaching students how situational awareness is integral to writing to respond. Thanks for watching, and thanks for using writing situations.